When Michael and Amina first moved into the house, it felt like the kind of place people dream of owning. It stood at the end of a quiet cul-de-sac surrounded by tall maple trees, whose leaves brushed softly against the windows when the wind passed. It was peaceful. It was spacious. It was supposed to be home. But from the very first day, Amina kept saying the same thing. This house feels too quiet, not peaceful, not calm, too quiet, like the silence was listening. The realtor had smiled when showing them around, a little too eager, a little too rehearsed. She talked about the newly renovated kitchen, the polished floors, the large backyard. She talked about everything except the master bedroom. In fact, she rushed past it so quickly that Michael had to escape. What about that room? Oh, she said, pausing just long enough to seem unnatural. That room isn't staged yet, but it's in great shape. Just needs personal touch. She pushed open the door. The moment the door swung open, a coldness rolled out like opening a freezer. Not the normal kind of cold that comes from air conditioning or shade dot. This was deeper. A cold that felt aware. The curtains hung heavy and unmoving, as if the air in the room didn't circulate. The ceiling fan creaked once, though. It wasn't turned on. And there was a faint smell, not rot, not mildew, but something older, like dust trapped in fabric for years. Amina stepped back. Something is wrong with this room. Michael laughed, trying to keep things light. It's just an old house smell. But even he didn't believe it. Still, they bought the house. They convinced themselves that unease was just nerves, not moving stress. Adjustment period. But that first night, when they finally lay in bed, not in the master bedroom, but in the guest room, because they hadn't finished unpacking, Amina whispered, "Why did the realtor avoid talking about that room?" Michael didn't answer, because he didn't know the answer. He only knew that he was relieved they hadn't slept in there, and he couldn't explain why. 2 weeks passed before they even stepped foot in the master bedroom again. They kept the door shut, telling themselves they were still unpacking, still decorating, still adjusting. But deep down they both felt it. That room did not want them. Every time they walked past the door, they felt it watching. Not literally, but emotionally. Like the room had a presence. Finally, one morning, Michael forced himself inside to begin setting it up. The sunlight from the window didn't brighten. The room got it, stopped at the doorway, like the room swallowed it. He pushed the curtains open. Nothing changed. The room remained dim, like the walls themselves were absorbing the light. He spent the afternoon assembling the bed, organizing the wardrobe, and setting up knitstands. Everything seemed ordinary enough until he found the scratches. Along the bottom of the closet door, deep, uneven scratches. Not claw marks, not tool marks. Something frantic, something desperate. He called for Amina. She stared at the scratches for a long time before saying, "Something was trapped in here." Michael wanted to dismiss it, but he COULDNT. The gouges were too human. The panic was written into every carved line. That night, they decided they would try sleeping in the master bedroom. Anyway, telling themselves they were being irrational. It was their room. Their house. They didn't make it past midnight. The room was cold again that night, colder than usual. Michael turned up the heat, checked the vents. Everything worked. But the cold wasn't coming from the AC. It was coming from the walls. They lay in bed, silently facing opposite directions, both pretending to be asleep. Then click. The bedroom door slowly opened by itself. Amina sat up instantly. Michael turned on the lamp. The hallway was dark, silent, still. He got up, closed the door, and made sure it was latched. He even tugged it twice to confirm. They lay back down. 2 minutes passed. Click. The door opened again. Amina whispered, voice shaking. Michael, the door didn't open. It was opened. Something was inviting itself in. Michael slammed the door shut again, this time locking it. They stayed awake, staring at it, waiting. 1 minute, 2.5. The house held its breath. Then the doorknob, turned slowly, deliberately. Someone or something was on the other side. Michael felt his chest tighten. Amina grabbed his arm so hard, her nails left marks. The lock held, but the turning did not stop. It was not the wind. It was not pressure. It was intent. After nearly a minute it stopped, but neither of them went back to sleep. They moved back to the guest room the next day. They didn't talk about the door. They didn't talk about the lock. They didn't talk about the turning. But the silence felt heavier now. That night they heard it. Again. Footsteps. Slow. Measured. Moving across the floor of the master bedroom directly above them. But here's the thing, there was carpet in that room. Carpet doesn't make footsteps, yet they heard them. Clear. Heavy. Fragging. A pattern emerged over the next few nights. Every night after 2:13 a.m., the footsteps began, pacing. Crossing the room, stopping at the door, like fingers drumming on the door, except no one was in there. One night, Michael worked up the courage to climb the stairs with his phone flashlight. He stood at the top of the staircase listening. The footsteps stopped. Silence. Then, from the other side of the master bedroom door, 3 slow knocks. Michael ran back downstairs without looking back. He didn't sleep for the rest of the night, or the one after. The house was no longer quiet. It was alive. And worse, it knew them. The first time it spoke Amina's name was while she was in the kitchen. A soft voice too close whispered Amina. She froze. Michael was at work. No windows open. No TV on. The voice came from behind her. She didn't turn around. She walked out of the house and waited outside until Michael returned. A day later, the voice said Michael's name. They could no longer pretend. They could no longer rationalize. Something was in that house. Something aware. Something restless. They finally asked the realtor for the history of the house. At first, she avoided answering. Then she tried to deny anything unusual. But when Michael pressed her, her expression changed. I didn't want to scare you, but the previous owners didn't use the master bedroom either. Why? Because the husband, he died there. Amina felt sick. How? The realtor hesitated. He was found inside the closet. The door was locked from the inside. They said he clawed at the door, trying to get out. The scratches. Amina started shaking. The realtor continued. His wife moved out after that. She said the room was still occupied. That night, Michael and Amina made their decision. They didn't wait to pack. They didn't try to sell the house. They didn't even step foot upstairs again. They left. Just walked out, locked the door behind them, and never went back. Because once you hear your name, spoken by something that isn't living once, you hear footsteps from something that has no body. Once you feel a presence lying next to you in the dark, you don't stay. You don't question. You run. And that is why they never slept in the master bedroom again.